Hey fifth graders, so this station it's going to be really important. You're going to be teaching yourself about something called plot. The first thing that you need to do, either as a group or you can do it individually, is you are going to be adding this foldable to your reading notebook. Let me say that again. You're adding it to your reading notebook. Reading notebook. Okay, so in your spiral notebook, you'll open up to the first blank page on the reading side. You're going to be adding this in. Okay, I have an example of what it's supposed to look like cut-wise. Okay, you cut on these lines, just these lines, here and here and here. Okay, you can see on my example how to cut it. Okay, put a couple dots of liquid glue along this side to make sure it sticks, and that's it. That's all you'll need to do. Okay. Pause me if you need to take a minute and get that in there. Like I said on the directions, you can do this by yourself or as a group or with other people. It might be easier with other people. So go on ahead and glue that in. Once you're done gluing that in, okay, you're going to be checking out this slideshow. Okay, and I'm going to do some of it with you. I'm going to walk you through it, and your job is to be writing the definitions into your foldable. Okay, you're going to be writing the definitions into these little doors as you work through this slideshow with me. And I am a great big dope and did not set this up correctly. Let's see if I can do this. Whoops. There we go. Alright. That's what I want. Alright, so we have identifying the elements of a plot diagram. Okay, this is what a plot diagram looks like. You guys have probably seen something like it last year. I know some teachers call it a roller coaster, that the book is going to go up to the top and go back down. Plot is used, okay, plot is the organized pattern or sequence of events that make up a story. Every plot is made up of a series of incidents that are related to one another. So what this means is that plot is the sequence of events in a story. Okay, so we have beginning, middle, and end of a story. Okay, every plot, which means every story, is made up of a series of incidents that are related to one another. Okay, so in the beginning of a book, one thing might happen, and then because of that, it leads to another, and then another, and another. A lot of you have seen the Percy Jackson movie. Okay, if you think about it from Percy Jackson's point of view, he finds out he's a demigod. Then he goes to the camp, and then at the camp he receives a quest, and then he goes out on his quest, and then on his quest he achieves all these different adventures. Okay, so it's a linked series of events. Okay. You can map a series of events in a book out on one of these lovely plot lines, okay? The first part down here is called the exposition. Okay, if you remember, I also want to make sure that you are filling out... Woohoo, where'd it go? There you go. You're filling out your foldable at this time too. Okay, so you should open up this exposition doorway. I don't care if you write it on the notebook paper, if you write it on the flap. Okay, but you need to... get this definition down. Okay, do not write it word for word. It will take you forever. Okay, the exposition usually occurs at the beginning of a short story. Here the characters are introduced. We also learn about the setting of the story. Most importantly, we are introduced to the main conflict. Okay, so here in this exposition, you're going to want to shorten this. Okay, but you're going to want it to still make sense. So why don't I shorten that with you? Just give me a second here. Alright, so in the exposition flap, okay, we're going to write something along the lines of this. Okay, the exposition is at the beginning of a story. Let's see this. shows characters, setting, and main conflict. Okay, this definition is what you should be writing right now in the flap of your reading notebook. I'm not going to shorten every definition for you, but I wanted you to see an example of what you could do to shorten it. Okay, I don't want you to write the whole thing. Pause me if you need me. Alright, so the next step of plot is going to be known as the rising action, okay? So if you've noticed, our little walker's already past exposition. Okay, the rising action, this part of the story begins to develop the conflicts. A building of interest or suspense occurs. Shorten this definition, put it in the rising action flap of your foldable. Okay, shorten that definition, but put it in the rising action flap of your foldable. The next part of plot is known as climax. Okay, as you can tell, our little climber has walked past exposition. He's working his way up rising action, and he's going to make his way to the climax. Okay, think of it as the summit of a mountain. Okay, this is the turning point of the story. Usually the main character comes face to face with a conflict, and the main character will change in some way. Okay, what I want to point out is it does not always have to be a positive ending to the climax. Okay, it could be they meet with the conflict and they fail. Okay, they come to the end of their challenge and they fail somehow. Okay, it's not always a positive outcome after the main character makes it to the top of the plot line. Okay, go ahead and shorten this definition, put it in your reading notebook. Pause me at this point if you need it. The next part is called falling action, okay? Obviously it's falling, okay? Our little climber here has gone from the exposition over the rising action, he's at the climax, and now he's headed towards the falling action, okay? This is where all loose ends of the plot are tied up, the conflicts and climax are taken care of, and this is just kind of like the last couple chapters of the book. The majority of the book is going to happen right here between the exposition and the rising action. Okay, the climax is probably going to be in one chapter, and the falling action will be maybe 2 to 3 chapters. And finally, the resolution is where the story comes to a reasonable ending. Okay, it's going to be the last chapter of the book, sometimes the last 2 chapters. Once again, I'm going to point out the majority of the book is going to be here. For example, we read Bud Not Buddy chapters 1 through 9, and I can tell you we have not reached the climax. Okay, we've met Bud, we've met the setting, we know some of the issues he's had to face, and we're seeing that he's going on some little adventures and having to overcome other little challenges on his way to the conflict, which is where the main character, on the way to the climax, which is where the main character comes face to face with that conflict. Okay, this is kind of putting it all together. You won't be copying this down into your notes. The exposition and the rising action at the beginning of the story. I would honestly say climax is a little bit more towards like the middle to the end of the story, and your falling action and your resolution will always be at the end. Okay, if you need to go through this again on your own, I have the slideshow on Canvas. Okay, it is hello, Julie Page. Nice to see you. Done. Okay. You can find that slideshow underneath your Bud Not Buddy module. Okay, underneath chapter 9, you're going to find it. Okay, plot definitions and overview. That's the slideshow we just did. Okay, so if you need to go back through the slideshow, kind of work through some of these, you can. Your job today at the end of this station is to make sure that that foldable, the white one with the doors, is completely filled out with the definitions of what each part of plot is. Okay, that's your goal today. I will make it over to your table periodically. I have to get the writing people done so that way next week you can be independent with the writing. Okay, I'm sorry I haven't been able to make it over to your station but I am trusting that you guys can copy down definitions and teach yourself the parts of plot. Okay.